Okay. All right. And now I just have an intense ear itch. We're light, we're bright, we're laughing.
Laugh like Spring Hill Jack to get you in the mood.
Oh, it does. It opens the back of the throat a little bit, doesn't it?
It sure actually does. It opens the back of your throat. It lets in.
It's all the back of the throat. Personal preference of mine.
Personal. I mean, we're well acquainted with the backs of our throats.
Isn't that where our little dingle dangle lies? If you're an adult like me.
Yes. That is the only thing that I've ever had in the back of my throat. Ever.
Hi-oh.
I
believe that.
Yeah.
It is true. Give me uno segundo. I don't think that's Spanish, but just give me a second.
All right.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to Creepy InQueeries,
A podcast dedicated to all things creepy, spoopy, and true crimey.
with your host, Miss,
And Kevin.
your friendly neighborhood queers.
Let's
dive Okay. What do we got? We got a fruit fly?
Yes.
I've been called worse.
Smash those.
No, I've been working, even though I hate it, but I need it, like establishing routines. So
Yes.
I've been really struggling with the part of the routine that is just get out of bed when the alarm goes off.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God, yeah.
So like the first step. So in an effort to...
Well, the first cut is the deepest.
Shut the fuck up. What, Sheryl Crow? Who are we?
Well, Cat Stevens. But yes, we'll go with the Sheryl Crow one because we gay.
Yeah. So anyway, Cheryl, I've been really struggling with just step one. So to curb that, what I've done is I have a real alarm clock that's not my telephone.
Uh-huh.
And I put it out of arm's reach in my bedroom.
Yep.
And I've been doing that and it works.
Yeah.
And it's really maddening because I'm standing up. There's a noise I hate. And I'm just like mashing all the buttons that aren't buttons.
Yeah.
They're like touch sensitive. So I'm just mashing it and I'm just getting angry about it. But then I'm up. But the problem is there's nothing that keeps you up, right? What is to stop me from sitting back down
right
in my
back in the
bed?
bed?
So I'm establishing now a coffee routine. I'm going to make myself some fancy coffee and that'll be my incentive to get out of bed. This is a riveting conversation.
Do you know what you could also do as soon as you get out of bed to walk across the room to turn off the alarm clock?
Right.
Before you turn off the alarm clock, have your glass of water that's by your bedside and just pour it right on your mattress.
I'll pour it on my mattress.
Just pour it all over your pillow and mattress. And by the time you get home from work and before you go to sleep, it'll be dry.
Oh, right. It'll be dry.
Yeah. All I'm saying is
I think
that's an idea.
I'm going to try the coffee thing first.
All right. All right. Let me know how it works.
So we'll see. Anything new with you? Any new routines? Any new TV shows? Any new anything?
Yes, to new TV shows. So you and me were talking about it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Ben and I, back on New Year's Eve, we started watching Only Murders in the Building.
Mm-hmm.
And we have finished that, and that's been great. And I'm super glad we watched it, and I'm very much looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with season 2, just because, with how it ended. But I really liked it. I thought it was cute. A friend of mine told me to watch it a while ago, And then like my mom told me to watch it. And if enough people tell me to watch something, I just have this thing where I don't want to watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Which is petty and childish.
I hear you.
And like, I'll get over it eventually. Obviously, I'll get over it. But so eventually, like one night I didn't have anything to watch and I turned it on and it was very good. It was very cute. And
I enjoy it.
And just cheesy enough. Like it wasn't too much, but it was also like a little bit of like a hug.
Yes. And to be gay, that show has some of the best wallpaper of any TV show I've ever seen.
The decor in these apartments. Even the hallways. It's crushingly beautiful.
That was actually a reason that two of our friends gave us to watch that show, because they were like,
really?
First off, you both will love it because it has everything that you guys like. For Kevin, you got the true crime podcast angle. And for Ben, they have amazing wallpapers. Like
Ben said, did you hear, I hear wallpaper?
My fiance is a wallpaper gay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did I hear wallpaper? I'm in.
Yeah. And we were not disappointed by either.
Yes. So. It was very good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And another show that we have been watching, which has been hilarious, is the show The Other Two.
The Other Two? What is that?
So the first season was, I think it was on Comedy Central, but the second season was picked up by HBO Max. So it's on there now. But it stars Molly Shannon and...
Oh, no, we were texting about this, weren't we?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
She's so underrated.
It's hilarious.
Right.
Yeah, she was underutilized in the first season, but I know she has a bigger role in the second season, I believe. And it's hilarious. And it's about two older siblings, and they have a 13-year-old brother, and Molly Shannon's the mom of all of them. And the younger kid gets super famous as like a Justin Bieber type pop star.
Oh no. Okay.
And it's hilarious. And so like and it's really snappy and funny and snarky and raunchy.
Like quick.
Yes. And Wanda Sykes is in it, and she does a really good job.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Wanda.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Me too. Another Maryland person. Hey.
That's right. We've been loving Wanda.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh, all of my free time is dedicated to, well, it should all be dedicated to studying, but partially carved out is for this. So the only information I'm consuming right now is only of partial interest.
And no worries. They'll all be there after February. The only question is, will you be here after February?
Will I? I mean, it's a question I'd like to maybe. Oh, it's funny. Let's put up a poll, maybe. Will she survive the bar?
Yes.
I'd like to get some thoughts.
I hope to. I cannot wait for you to go from one bar, and I can take you out to a whole different type of bar when you're done.
Like an in-person alcohol bar?
Yes. So let's make this podcast gayer. How can we make it gayer?
How? Well, we already started a little bit.
No comments.
I don't know if changing the way you talk could make you more gay. I don't know. I mean, we're here. Queer here.
We are.
So
we're here. We're gay. Get used
to it.
My son is gay.
Yes. My son is gay.
Watch it.
Oh.
My son's gay.
My son's gay. This is our first opportunity to talk about it. Why don't we talk about our fairy godparent series?
Our fairy godparent series. Yes. So background on that, we were going to incorporate that into our episodes, and we still might in the future because it's our podcast and it's not yours, and we can do what we want. But
what?
We do a lot of research and whatnot for our stories, so they take up the bulk, obviously, of our time that we have for the podcast. So we still wanted to do things that incorporated, because Miss had the great idea to have a segment about fairy godparents, people in queer history and herstory, and
yes. I just thought it would be nice to have, because if the only thing that makes us different from a lot of other true crime podcast is that we're queer. And I think that matters, even if it's not a big thing. We should really live up to that. And I already spend my time doing this anyway. And I just love the idea of spreading the knowledge in case people are unaware.
I feel really bad to say, I don't believe I had heard of Barbara Giddings before. Ben did, because he's a librarian and he's a queer historian.
Right. And I knew if anybody knew who she was, I knew Ben would.
Oh, yeah.
Only because of that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I knew of her. How did I learn of her?
Yeah. How did you hear about her?
I'm trying to think. I've known about her for a while. It was probably my first or second year of undergrad. It was probably an English class, if I'm thinking about it. Mm-hmm. But I really couldn't tell you. I know that she was mentioned, and then I later did my own research about her, and I just read some speeches that she had done, and then I looked in. Mm-hmm. Really what I knew her for specifically was the work that she did getting homosexuality removed from the DSM, removed from being a diagnosable disorder. So that's what I knew her for.
And that's great, because I knew at some point, I believe it was in the 70s, obviously now I know that's the case, that it was removed as a disorder. I didn't know she had such a big role in that. And so thank you, Miss, for shedding light for me.
No, and I didn't know that she held such a big part in it either. I knew that she was involved, but I didn't know how involved she was and how she was she was the co-leader of the movement. So I thought that was really nice. And I thought it was very important. And obviously I think I knew about her when I was figuring out my own sexuality and the long journey that was. She came up bench.
So that was a great first person to have for our new little segment that we're going to do. And I would love to try and make that a weekly thing. I definitely have a person for the next one that we're going to do.
Oh, do you?
I do. Yes.
Wonderful.
I have to write things about them.
I'm so excited.
Yes. So fuck yeah. Episode 8. We are here.
Ooh.
Episode 8. Feeling great.
So going first this week in the true crime spot is Kevin. Please tell me, what do you have for me this week?
Absolutely. So before I start my story, let's give a shout out on where people can actually find us online so they can, rate and review us.
Oh, definitely. If you're interested, wherever you are listening, you could always subscribe or rate. Or if you'd prefer, you could always send us an email at creepyinqueriespod@gmail.com or on our Instagram at creepyinqueriespod, and then again on our website at creepyinqueriespod.com.
Absolutely. We've gotten some great emails from listeners already, and we've gotten some really awesome messages and DMs as well.
Definitely.
So you want to dive in then?
Yes, please. Let's do it.
Yes. All right. So last week's episode, you had a great true crime story about Randy Adair.
I did.
It was almost even lighthearted, meaning nobody got killed.
People were barely threatened.
Yes, it was a light threatening at that.
A light threatening with a gun.
I totally went in the opposite direction this time.
Ooh, okay.
And on top of that, since we are a queer podcast, I have some queer criminals that I will talk about today. Yeah.
Tell me
I sure will.
About it.
And again, I hope you've never heard of it, my story. We're about to find out if that's true. Yeah. So the story that I will be telling everyone today is a story of a murder spree that took place in Lexington, Kentucky in the late 1980s by a lesbian couple named LaFonda Fay Foster and Tina Marie Powell. Have you heard of them?
So I've heard of it. I know two things about it, but ultimately I don't know anything about it. And I'm really excited that I don't. I know that it happened. I don't even know what their crimes are.
Oh, wow.
So I know nothing.
We're
going in blind. I'm about to go in blind. I'm excited.
Yeah. And side note, LaFonda was almost my name if I were a girl. My mom told me.
Knowing your mother as well as I did, I'm going to say no, that you were going to be Miranda, actually.
No, I was going to be Meredith. Meredith.
Ah, that's what it was. That's what it was. Meredith.
Yeah.
Some other stuck up white name. Just kidding. If your name is Meredith, we love you.
And if your name is LaFonda, too, we love you.
Oh, no, that's a great name.
Yeah.
It's much more fun than my name.
So,
yes.
On April 23rd, 1986, LaFonda Fay Foster and Tina Marie Powell, two women in a lesbian relationship, went on a brutal murder spree in Lexington, Kentucky, leaving 5 people dead after a 4-day binge of alcohol and cocaine.
Oh, well, that'll mess you right up.
That'll do it for you.
I'm excited. Let's do it.
Let's dive in. So both LaFonda and Tina had a history of run-ins with law enforcement in their past. Might I also point out that LaFonda at that time was 22 years old and Tina was 27 years old.
Okay.
Both women had served prison time on narcotics, robbery, and fraud charges.
Okay.
Unrelated to the story, but their victims, they also had long criminal records, including arrests for robbery, forgery, and concealing deadly weapons. They were acquaintances, and I think that's how they knew each other.
Right. They knew each other. The victims and the perpetrators had long criminal records. The victim's criminal record has no bearing in what we're talking about today. Got it.
Right. Yep. So today's story started when the Lexington police responded to a telephone complaint by Virginia Kearns, age 45, that 2 women were intoxicated in her apartment and they would not leave. So 2 officers arrived at their complex around 4 p.m. in the afternoon and found Virginia herself to be highly intoxicated and belligerent.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. After questioning LaFonda and Tina, the police determined that they were coherent, even though both of them were high and drunk at that time. They would just they were in the middle of a 4-day bender.
But they were coherent?
They were coherent enough, and that you'll hear throughout the story too. The 2 of them were very much able to stand on their legs, operate machinery, walk and talk and communicate in a manner that wasn't what people would think people could do when they were that high and that drunk.
Like, really? Or that's what the police are claiming?
No, like, really. Yeah. Well, like.
Oh, well, I okay.
Yeah. It'll come up in different times of the story too, like different people throughout the day.
So they're just very functioning addicts.
Yes, indeed.
All right. That's definitely not the craziest thing we've heard.
Nope. So once the 2 officers that arrived there, they questioned LaFonda and they questioned Tina, and they determined that they were coherent enough. The police just left.
Wait, they were called because those 2 women would not leave.
Right. But then when they showed up, Virginia, who was the lady that called the police, was belligerent and intoxicated herself.
But the other 2 were completely fine, so they were like,
in their
eyes,
a false
alarm.
Yeah, so they were probably thinking,
okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
The assailants knew Virginia and her semi-disabled husband, Carlos, who is 75, so 30 years Virginia's senior. Okay. They knew them as acquaintances somehow. Again, I don't know exactly how they knew each other, but I guess small town, low income, no jobs.
They weren't strangers anyway.
They weren't strangers, exactly.
Okay.
So LaFonda and Tina, they left the apartment after the police left. They walked down into an adjacent parking lot where several people were having a party, drinking, just not even like a party. They were just outside drinking.
Well,
that's a party.
I guess. It depends on your definition of a party, but it could be a party.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, no birthday hats and cake. No,
it wasn't. There was no theme to the party.
Yeah,
it was just a happening of people.
Yes. So while they were drinking more, Tina attempted to sell a knife to one of the party goers to raise money for more alcohol and more drugs. And about that time, I think they both noticed that Virginia was leaving her apartment. So they walked over to Virginia, and Tina harangued her. Harangue, like giving her a what for and just cussing her out.
A general accosting.
Yes. And she and LaFonda followed Virginia down to a drugstore where a witness said LaFonda was seen shaking Virginia violently.
Oh, shit. Well, they were all 3 belligerent, and just doing what they're doing. All right. Yep.
The three women ended up returning to the Kearns' apartment where Carlos and Virginia lived with their live-in housekeeper, Trudy Harrell, who was 59.
Trudy, what a good name.
I know. I like that name a lot. So Virginia asked her husband to give money to LaFonda and Tina. He initially refused the request, and further arguments ensued.
Okay.
Carlos eventually agreed to write them a check for $25, but he stated he would have to drive somewhere in their car to get it cashed. So it was at that point, two other people for this story enters the chat. We have Roger Keene and Theodore Sweet. Both of them were friends of Carlos, and they arrived at the apartment while Tina, Virginia, and Trudy went to go get Carlos's car. LaFonda, and then I don't know how
that's fair enough
or why, but at that time when the car got
LaFonda,
yeah, LaFonda then drove the car that contained Tina and the other five people. Again, she's drunk. They drove down.
Everyone is drunk. Okay. All right.
Actually, everyone is drunk except for Carlos, the old guy.
And it's his car, but he's not driving. Okay.
Correct. Yep. You got it.
Good.
So LaFonda drove them all to a bait shop where the manager then cashed that check, which was sometime between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. on that night.
And remind me, it's April, right? So it's spring?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
To set the area of Lexington, Kentucky at that time too, it was low income, rusty,
like Rust Belt kind
of look. Yes. All right. So they went to go cash the check. During their trials, Tina stated that she and LaFonda were attempting to raise enough money to purchase a gram of cocaine from that check that they had cashed. So I don't know how much a gram of cocaine cost back then, and I don't know how much it costs now.
I don't know how much it costs ever or now. However, I feel like if you're cashing a check for $25, you might not have enough to get it. Listen, I don't know. It could be plenty.
Yeah, it was 5 years ago, 36 years ago now.
So right. So $25 is a lot more money than what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
what
fair.
I'm thinking. Yeah.
But still, I feel like, what did you say, a gram of cocaine?
A gram of cocaine. And more alcohol, I assume, too.
Well, yeah, I just don't know how much a gram of cocaine is.
Right?
So for all we know, it's a reasonable price. It's a reasonable price.
Yeah.
For all we know.
So they cashed the check. LaFonda and Tina took the five other people. They then drove down and stopped by at the home of a dude named Lester Luttrell, presumably to try and snag more cash.
He sounds fun.
I know, right? Lester Luttrell.
I don't think there's ever been a time where I've heard the name Lester and felt okay about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I don't want to be rude. Or maybe I do want to be rude.
This is the episode where we're just getting rude against people's names. So if your name is Lester,
and like, listen,
I'm sure you're cool.
Listen, I'd be very surprised if we had a listener named Lester. If we do,
please shout us out.
I can't help the way it makes me feel, though.
Yeah,
I don't like that name. I'm sure you're a wonderful guy.
So they stopped by the home of Lester Luttrell when an argument between Luttrell and LaFonda ended up with her firing a .22 caliber bullet into the window of his home before driving away. He was unharmed. She just, I guess, got pissed and shot at him while they were driving away. You know.
I am just picturing like the Three Stooges plus alcohol and subbing some women.
Wow.
Just like.
Not at all the aesthetic I was trying to paint.
Actually, I just mean, I just mean like a bunch of idiots.
Oh,
like,
I know. Oh, absolutely.
And idiots and shooting at each other and like being physical towards each other, but like also being complete and total fools.
Oh, God, yeah.
And, you know, please cut that. I don't think that's not the picture you're painting. I'm just saying that's what's popping in. It's like my only frame of reference for physical comedy that's not Will and Grace.
Yes, yeah. It's unclear to me how things escalated, but sometime between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m., the car was driven to a field. There, according to Tina during her testimony, the 5 victims, Virginia, Carlos, Roger, Theodore, and Trudy, the housekeeper, the 5 victims were forced out of the car and all told to lie face down in the grass.
No, thank you.
LaFonda and Tina then shot and stabbed Trudy and Virginia. Although wounded, Virginia, along with Carlos, Roger, and Theodore, who were not injured at the time, got back into the car at LaFonda and Tina's direction. So Trudy was the one that was killed at that time. Virginia was stabbed.
Okay.
And
Trudy and Virginia were stabbed, but Virginia was okay, and
Trudy was also shot. Yes.
Okay.
Trudy was also shot. But then they all got back in the car, and Trudy's body was discovered 225 feet away from that field that they all were brought to because her body had become lodged underneath the car and was dragged that distance.
Isn't that fun?
Yep. Forensics evidence showed that she was fatally shot in the back of her head, stabbed 5 times in her face and chest, and her throat had been cut.
Someone's a little aggressive.
A little bit.
For the housekeeper? But she's the housekeeper.
I know.
What did she do? Fuck up their sandwich?
Here's the thing. That could mean any number of things. What does that even mean to be a housekeeper? You know, I have no idea what Trudy's job really was. She just wasn't related to them, and she lived in the house. So I don't know if she was like in their employ or what.
Oh, I think housekeeper's probably fine.
Possibly. Yeah.
Correct. But that's shitty. Good.
Yeah. Poor Trudy. It was found that Trudy had no alcohol found in her system.
Oh, good. So at least she was sober for it all.
The whole thing. Yep. So Tina got in the driver's seat, and they drove the car to a tavern located about 2 miles away from where Trudy's body was found. A customer at the tavern testified that Tina came up to him and asked if he had any 22s or 38s, to which he replied he did not. Tina then went inside and asked the manager of the store the same question, explaining that she needed them to, quote, shoot some rats. Y'all got any 22s or 38s? I need to shoot some rats.
Okay, so number one, why don't we just not do that? And number two, if we're going to do it anyway, don't people use like a BB gun for that?
I guess so.
You don't use like a real ass gun, do you?
Not as far as I know.
I feel like if you hit listen, I literally know nothing about nothing, especially when it comes to hunting
I know
and
shit
guns.
about fuck, all right?
And I don't know fuck about shit. However, what I do know makes me feel like a 22 or 38 might be a little overkill for a rat.
I dare say. He ended up giving Powell 4 .22 caliber bullets, so not a gun.
Okay.
They had a gun already, we know. But anyway, so he only gave her bullets. The manager observed that the car that they were driving had blood on it on the right passenger side of the door. And he yelled to Tina that she had better, quote, better wash that blood off. You know.
Okay.
The manager, because I guess
from all
I
the
guess
rats?
he realized, he was like, I guess you better wash that blood off the door.
Maybe we should just hose her off or something.
The manager could not clearly see who was in the car, but he did notice that there was a, quote, a big guy in it with no shirt on. So I believe that was Carlos who was referring to.
Good.
Still want to talk about Three Stooges?
Okay, so he's shirtless. He's in a truck. Yes. We're going.
So the car was then driven to a loading dock area behind a paint store. And that's where Virginia was killed.
Okay.
And the state medical examiner testified that she had been shot in the head. Her throat had been cut. She had multiple stab wounds, including 16 wounds to her neck.
Jeez.
And her body also had become lodged underneath the car and dragged, which was the same exact MO as Trudy.
Somebody has an MO. Okay.
And the medical examiner said, despite all those wounds, Virginia died as a result of being run over by the car. All of her other wounds first did not kill her. And she also had a 0.32 blood alcohol level at the time of her death.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well, isn't she doubled? Yeah. Quadrupled. I mean, if we're going off a 0.08 standard and she's at a what?
0.32.
Yeah, no, that's a quadruple, my
maybe
friend.
She couldn't really feel it.
I don't think she couldn't.
I can't feel my face when I'm with you. Please don't kill me.
At that point, she's got to be...
Remix.
It's horrible. So, listen, if you've been drinking like this for a long time, theoretically, you could just be acting fine. I don't know. It sounds like a lot.
I would be dead if I had a 0.32.
In my experience, one is not able to act in a safe way when that intoxicated.
Agreed. Yeah. So about an hour later after Virginia's murder, LaFonda and Tina returned to that same tavern with the 3 remaining victims in the car. They again asked the manager for more bullets, and this time he said no.
Listen, I felt weird about it the first time. Of course I'm not giving you more. I'm gonna, you know what? In fact,
I don't think you're using them for rats. You better get.
I don't think you're using them for good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So since they were unsuccessful of getting more bullets after they had killed Virginia, they then drove over to the trailer home of LaFonda's father, where this guy, Dad of the Year, he provided a nail.
Oh, good.
He provided a nail and showed them how to use it in their .22 caliber revolver in place of a cylinder rod, which I don't know what the fuck that means.
Well, isn't that helpful?
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks, Dad.
So LaFonda was the one that went into...
Thanks. I'm gonna go do a lot of murder now because of that. Because now I don't need bullets.
I'm gonna go do some murder.
So
while LaFonda was in her dad's trailer talking to him, Tina was left in the car with the other 3 dudes. The remaining guys begged her to do something to help them. And Tina explained that she was unable to help them because A, LaFonda had taken the keys to the car, and B, Tina believed that she could be more help to them by staying put at that time. So she was like, I can't get you out now, but maybe I can do something later. And yes.
Seems legit.
Yeah. Tina's testimony in her trial would go on to say she would claim that LaFonda was the mastermind of things, and she threatened to kill Tina if she didn't go along with all of this.
Very Eileen Wuornos.
Yes, it could be said that Tina was, coerced and afraid of her own life too. So.
Right. She was not a participant. She was just going along with it because she was scared.
She still committed those acts, but she was claiming she was forced to. At an undetermined time during that evening, LaFonda and Tina stopped by a totally separate bar. Carolyn Cross, who was sitting in a car outside the bar, stated that LaFonda asked her for some money, quote, because she needed a fix. When asked by Ms. Cross what was wrong with her, LaFonda replied that, quote, she had just shot a man.
I think everybody's having a really
times
good
of
time.
Their lives, yes. So when Carolyn asked LaFonda what she was going to do with the rest of the people in the car, LaFonda replied, quote, I'll shoot them too.
Okay, good.
Carolyn further testified that Foster did not appear drunk. That's what Carolyn said on the witness stand. Again, another person saying she was coherent. She was
perfectly fine.
Yeah. Also, at some point, the remaining victims asked LaFonda and Tina for something to eat, whereupon they went to a drive-in restaurant for food, but they ended up leaving before they received their orders. So I don't know why they went or why they
maybe
left.
They got nervous.
Maybe they had blood on the car or something. They got nervous. I'm not sure.
Yeah, or they were on a lot of drugs and they weren't thinking straight.
This was the time then that they were driven to a field where the other 3 were killed in the same manner as the 2 women, with each of them being shot in the head, each of them being stabbed repeatedly, their throats cut, and they were run over by the car.
Jesus. Good, all of them.
So it was at this time, though, that LaFonda and Tina, after they killed them, the car was then set on fire with gasoline. Roger, who was shot twice in the back of the head and once in the ear, he was found left pinned underneath the car while it burned.
Okay.
Theodore, the other dude, had been shot in both ears, and he was found lying face down on the ground near the car. Both Carlos and Roger had defensive injuries to their right hands, and police ended up, once they found the body, they ended up finding the revolver that LaFonda had thrown into the field not too far away from the burning car.
Great job.
Fun.
Great job, girl.
Right?
Yeah.
So there was 3 separate homicide scenes around, I think, a 5-mile radius of Lexington when they were driving around that night. And they each had the same kind of consistent forensic evidence.
Okay.
A postmortem toxicology report on Theodore and Roger, they indicated that Theodore had a 0.35 and Roger had a 0.22 blood alcohol level.
For the average person, those are really high.
Yeah.
Really, really high. I mean, like I said before, if you're a seasoned alcoholic, maybe not.
Maybe.
You can be a functional alcoholic.
Yep.
For a while anyway.
Yeah.
So it's surprising, but possible, I guess,
I guess. So Carlos, with the burning car, it kind of created a scene. So police were called pretty quickly. He was brought to Humana Hospital, which was not too far away from that site, where he died, and where it says that he died as a result of 2 gunshot wounds to the head. So I guess he didn't fully die at the site. He died in the hospital.
He was pronounced dead once he got there.
Yeah.
Wow.
No alcohol was found in Carlos's system. So out of everyone that night, Trudy, the housekeeper, and Carlos, they were the only 2 people that did not have alcohol in their system.
Okay.
Yeah. After setting the car on fire, LaFonda and Tina themselves walked over to Humana Hospital, and Tina had telephoned for a taxi while LaFonda went into the bathroom to wash the blood off her face and the clothes. And an emergency room nurse noticed the blood on their clothing, and they had notified the police, who were in the building on an unrelated matter. Some ER nurse saw them, were like, "Hey, officers, you want to go take a look at those 2 people over there? They look kind of sketch.
Kind of suspicious over there."
The cop observed LaFonda and Tina were both coherent in speech and able to walk without a stagger. Still
coherent.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
The police separately questioned LaFonda and Tina to determine whether they were injured. And LaFonda and Tina both told the police that they had been in a fight with one another, but no injuries were found on their body, but they had blood on them.
They were in a fight with one another and 5 people died?
Well, I think at this point they didn't know that those other people were connected to them.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, fair.
The officer kind of smelled a rat. He was like, I don't think that they got in a fight because they don't have any wounds on them. And he noticed an odor of alcohol, but he, again, observed that both were capable of communicating and walking without difficulty. But Foster and Powell were actually arrested for public intoxication. Okay. That is what they were taken in for. Because they had,
after admitting that they weren't observed being intoxicated.
The officer said he ended up smelling an odor of alcohol, and they ended up becoming belligerent, talking to them. So the cops took them out and arrested them because of that belligerent nature, and saying that they were like a danger to themselves and others. So LaFonda and Tina were then driven to the Fayette County Detention Center. Foster was placed in a holding cell while Powell was being booked. While in the bathroom of the cell, LaFonda removed her bloody socks and the shoestrings and flushed them down the toilet.
Wait. she was put in the cell before they took like her shoelaces and stuff? Like before they processed her?
I guess. Maybe they put her in the cell while they were booking Tina. And then they were going to take her out.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know how big the station was and what they fucking do in Kentucky in 1986.
Well, it sounds like they have a big toilet.
Sounds like they have, like a great plumbing system.
Really an industrial toilet situation.
Yeah. LaFonda then wiped off the blood on the shoes with water and her face. Okay. She ended up exchanging her blood-stained sweatpants with another inmate.
Oh, of course I want your blood-stained sweatpants. You have my clean ones.
Yeah, you have
Of course I want your blood tie-dye pants.
Yeah, your groovy, I'm hoping, groovy sweatpants and not blood-stained. But yes. Yeah.
No. They're definitely blood-stained and not groovy. Still want them?
Yeah. And 3 .22 caliber bullets were found on LaFonda, and Tina had the blood-stained knife.
Okay.
They ended up being charged because they found the bodies throughout that night too. They put 3 and 3 together or whatever, and they
they put 7 and 5 together.
Yeah. And Foster and Powell were charged with 5 counts of intentional murder and public intoxication, amongst some other charges, in which was said to be Lexington's worst mass murder at that time.
Dang.
Yes.
Okay.
During pretrial confinement, which we're not a fan of.
No, we're not.
During pretrial confinement, Foster had told another inmate whose name was Betty McLean that she had shot that woman first and made the men watch. When asked why she killed them, LaFonda informed her and other inmates in that area that the women were, quote, bitches, and the men were witnesses who saw too much. So I guess they really had an issue with Virginia and Trudy.
Okay. Well, as long as we're honest and we stay true to who we are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They were bitches. And the other ones just saw too much.
LaFonda explained that she did not believe that the police could connect the crimes, which I feel like they already did, but I digress.
No, I feel like they've got it now.
Yeah, I feel like they got it.
Like, you can help or not, but like, we've got it from here.
Yeah. Foster said she was gonna. She told another inmate that she was going to play insane as her defense. We're gonna find out how well that works for her in a bit. It does not.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure it's not gonna work.
No,
just with my own limited knowledge.
When you talk about your crimes to other inmates.
Oh, don't we love to see it? We love to see it.
So that same inmate that LaFonda told that she was going to claim insanity, when she testified at the trial, she corroborated the fact that LaFonda had destroyed evidence. She claimed that she heard Foster state that Tina had gotten panicky that night and that she was planning on killing Tina also because she was a witness and might go to the police. So it kind of leads to that same Tina's defense of I was forced to do it kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, who's... Yeah, I mean, you can't really say. It very well may be true, or it may be partly true.
So at their trial, they were tried together. LaFonda, her attorney's strategy for avoiding the death sentence, because that was on the table, she was facing the death sentence in a small town Kentucky jury who, knew she was a lesbian, was to portray her as a victim of battering, violence, and drugs. Even though Foster had said and admitted to doing these violent acts, she might be spared if she could be seen as a victim of other horrible violence. So that was their strategy.
I mean, and to be fair, that's a good strategy if you're going to do it, because it would be really, really, it would be so much harder if their defense was, I didn't participate at all.
Yeah.
So as a way to curb it, to say that, she did it under duress. She did it under threat of her own life.
Right.
It's a good strategy for a defense. And honestly, in my personal opinion, your main goal when looking at a case like that is to make sure that the death penalty doesn't have, if you were that defense attorney.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tina didn't have the death penalty for her case because LaFonda was seen as the ringleader of it and the perpetrator of most of it. So
fair enough.
Tina's defense was to claim battered wife syndrome against LaFonda, which was a bold choice in the 80s. And so
here's the thing. It's a bold choice for a lesbian.
Yeah.
Especially when same-sex marriage was not legal.
Yep.
But I will say with all of these kinds of battered wife syndromes, it's kind of the same thing with like a gay panic.
Yeah.
It had a use in the law, and it's debatable if it was good. Gay panic is the same way. It's been used as a viable defense. Mm-hmm. Don't really think you can get away with it now. Just like battered wife syndrome is a little... in most states, there's not a lot of states that still have it as a defense. And
also her defense wasn't defensible because she didn't meet the criteria of what battered wife syndrome was in the eyes of a Kentucky law. So,
I mean, yeah,
she tried.
I mean, you do what you can.
Do what you can with what
sometimes
you
don't have sometimes you don't have a lot to work with when you get a defendant like this.
Yeah. Understandably, LaFonda and Tina were both found guilty of 5 counts of intentional murder. After a 4-week trial, the jury recommended that Tina be sentenced to life imprisonment on 1 murder count without the benefit of probation or parole for 25 years on the remaining 4 counts. The same jury recommended that Foster be sentenced to death on each of her 5 murder convictions, which makes LaFonda Fay Foster only the second woman sentenced to death in Kentucky in the 20th century. And
wow.
Yeah, and she was supposed to be executed, but in 1991, her term was changed to life in prison without possibility of parole. In 2011, Tina Marie Powell had a parole hearing, and that parole was denied, and they said that she had to serve at least 10 more years. So I looked her up. She had a parole hearing, from what I could see online, in March of 2021, which was 10 years after her last parole hearing. I couldn't find anything really about her status other than that she's still an active inmate now. So I guess her parole was denied. Yeah. I feel like it's been almost a year since then.
Right.
Like, there's no date on there because there was a little box on the website that I saw that said like parole eligibility date, and that was like blank. So I think that her parole was denied.
It probably just hadn't been updated since the next one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's the story of LaFonda and Tina. LaFonda is currently housed in the Kentucky Correctional Institute for Women, which is near Louisville.
Okay.
And Tina is on the other side of the state in the Western Kentucky Correctional Complex.
Well, I mean, I've never heard of them. I'm not huge fans of these particular lesbians.
Yeah.
But representation matters. No, I'm just kidding. I've never heard of them, and it's really surprising that I haven't. And
yeah, because you want to know where I found them?
Where?
On your favorite website.
Murderpedia?
Yes.
Oh, did I just hear Oscar?
Yes, Oscar. Shut up.
Yes. Hi, Oscar, baby.
I found them because I was looking for... I wanted to look specifically for female killers that were like multiple killers, not even serial killers, because like, you know, they're out there and
no, they are out there.
I'm keeping that
in. No, they are certainly out there, and they're not Eileen Wuornos. They're sometimes just a couple of go-getting
I hear a Freudian
drunkards.
slip.
Yeah. I'm not killing anyone. But it is interesting that it's kind of like the same like dominant submissive pairing between the two. They also kind of got the same deal, although I will say, what was Eileen's girlfriend? What was her name?
I don't know, but just Christina Ricci.
Yeah. I know that she cut a pretty good deal.
By the way, I'm going to digress real quick. 3 or 4 episodes out of our 8 episodes we've had on our podcast has mentioned Christina Ricci. We're not even like that huge of Christina Ricci's fans, but we are.
I'm not even that big of a fan. But
here we are.
I like her. Listen, I think we
name.
even had a I stan her conversation, which is fine. I don't know if my stanness was as sincere as this podcast is making it sound.
To me, it's just a running joke because, like, you and I know that we don't talk about her else.
No, in real life, we never talk about her.
But I've posted numerous times about Christina Ricci.
She's just popping up.
She sure
Wouldn't
is.
You know it?
Yeah.
I love that story. That's very interesting.
I like it.
Also that they were in the Midwest, sort of all places. I think I kind of expect a Florida kind of situation.
There was a movie in 1997 based off of these crimes, which I ended up watching when I was at work once.
I'll never tell.
It's called 100 Proof. And it's actually, the whole thing is streamed free on YouTube. So if anyone wants to watch it, it's on there. That's how I watched it. In a lot of ways, yes. It helped me conceptualize the story better because I had read all this information. I couldn't quite understand, who Theodore was, who Roger was, why they were there, from all the articles that I had read online. And their dynamic between LaFonda and Tina, I like, and so watching a movie, even though it's not 100% based off of it, but it gave me more of an idea of how their lives, their motivations, how someone could be drunk all day long and high on coke and
function.
And so the movie was shot in Kentucky. It was shot on location, so that also helped me conceptualize the lifestyle. What kind of community they were living in, that kind of thing too.
Sure.
So, it's
send
called
me the
100
link.
Proof. Yeah.
I'll watch it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I really loved it.
Thank you so much.
I love when my people are represented as the murderers.
As the murderers. Yes, those other lesbians, not I.
Oh, no, not me. Oh, no, that's not me. That's the other ones.
Yes. So, Miss.
Wonderful job. Yes.
You have a spoopy story, as I understand it.
Oh, I've got a spoopy story for you.
Oh, you do?
Real spoopy.
Oh, shit.
Uh-huh. I just want to start this by saying that doing the research for this one was very upsetting. I hate mannequins and dolls of all kinds.
Yes.
Scary dead eyes make me break out in hives. I don't like it. They're obviously going to kill me as soon as I turn my back to them. And they can only exist through the good work of Satan herself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am so jazzed.
With that disclaimer, I will say I'm doing the horrifying story of the storefront corpse bride, La Pascualita.
Ooh.
Have you heard of her?
No, not at all.
No? Wonderful. No. And also I'd like to thank my very good friend, Amanda. She recommended this for me.
Yay.
So thank you. I hate it. I hope you
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah. Thanks. I hate it. I hope everyone enjoys. So, in March of 1930, Pascuala Esparz, Esparz, was helping her daughter prepare for her wedding, which turned out to be no problem because Pascuala owned La Popular, a bridal shop in Chihuahua, Mexico.
Okie dokie.
Sadly, her daughter was bitten by a black widow spider before her wedding, and she died before it could take place.
Aww.
Some sources actually say she was bitten and died on her actual wedding day, which seems more upsetting to me.
That does. Me too.
Pascuala was said to be devastated, obviously, and had her daughter embalmed shortly thereafter. But don't worry, by March 25th, 1930, Pascuala was back at it, and La Popular unveiled its new storefront mannequin wearing a dress from that year's spring-summer line of wedding dresses.
Mm.
She was looking great. But townsfolk immediately noticed that the mannequin was strikingly lifelike. It had rosy cheeks. It had natural-looking long hair, long eyelashes, and it had extremely realistic hands, like upsettingly realistic.
Oh, no.
It was also commented that instead of like the shiny plastic skin we think from a mannequin, this gal had what appeals to be like real human-like skin. Even said to have varicose veins on her legs.
I am so into the story right now.
I knew you would think.
I'm literally Googling right now just to
please look up her hands. Please look up her hands. It's so upsetting. It makes my stomach turn. turn.
God.
Please do it. Please do it.
I sure will.
I'm so upset. I've seen it so many times. Thanks, Amanda.
Oh,
the hands.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, keep talking. Tell me how this turns out, because
it's so upsetting. It is. It's so upsetting. Okay. Workers soon noticed that she also had very clear eyes, and I have to agree. When you look at the color pictures, she has the real like get out eyes kind of vibe. Yeah. Like a soul is definitely trapped inside of there. And also, just like side note, if all I saw of this Lady Quinn was her hands, I would immediately think that she used to be a human person. Oh, one employee has said, quote, "Every time I go near Pascualita, my hands break out in a sweat. Her hands are very realistic. She even has varicose veins on her legs. I believe she's a real person," end quote. Folks were also quick to note that the mannequin had a shocking resemblance to the owner's deceased daughter and the owner herself. So not long after the mannequin was put in the storefront window, it started making passersby feel uneasy. This is when the legend of La Pascualita, or Little Pascuala, the corpse bride mannequin, was born. In her grief, Pascuala perfectly preserved and continuously maintained her daughter's corpse, lovingly dressing her in the window in wedding dresses, and put her in the storefront to keep her with her forever. Literally forever. La Pascualita is still in the storefront window of La Popular to this day, 92 years later.
Oh my God.
Well, practically 92. How are you feeling?
I can't believe this.
Stop this.
You stop this madness.
Stop this. Yeah, so
adios mio.
Okay. Customers and employees reported that La Pascualita likes to play tricks on people by changing up positions and following them with her eyes while they shop. This I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but it could be because bridal shop management changes La Pascualita's looks twice a week behind closed curtains. But I call BS. It's a corpse bride and nobody will tell me anything else. I swear. It's all I want.
Yeah.
I cannot emphasize enough that this is not your typical mannequin. When you look at the pictures in black and white, it really is not difficult to understand why people, especially in 1930, could have believed that the mannequin was in fact Pascuala's daughter. But with the color pictures, it's a little less eerie. It's way more realistic than, say, like your typical mannequin.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't look like a mummy or an embalmed person. It kind of looks like a really decent, like wax figure almost.
Yeah.
Like she's like I wrote, she's like the Disney princess of mannequins.
What a title.
Right. So what do you think? Do you think it's possible that the embalmed corpse has been kept in pristine condition for over 9 decades?
Oh, I've never seen a mannequin look like this. I've never seen a mannequin with hands and nails and things and veins
that look like they're even like decaying, like the skin has even pulled back from the nails. Yeah.
Yes. So for this reason, I can't say that this is like a all I can say right now is this is not a normal mannequin.
No, it sure as hell isn't.
That's all I can really say.
It's not impossible to say that her corpse was, continuously maintained.
Right.
There are currently a handful of popes that are immaculately maintained for the viewing public in the Vatican. And then Vladimir Lenin, his body has been on display since January 21st, 1924, when he died. I mean, even at first, he was embalmed so a funeral could be held. But after a 4-day funeral, the public and the government, it wasn't enough. There were still too many people who wanted to pay their respects. Yep. So to accommodate the collective grief, the government officials built a temporary wooden mausoleum so that his body could remain on display in Moscow's Red Square. Luckily, it was winter in Russia, and so it was never above 18 or 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which helped with decomposition.
Right.
But eventually what they used to keep the body in pristine condition was never released. We don't know what the secret is, but he's still on display today, 98 years later, and he is the most well-preserved corpse that we have right now. If you want to look it up, I would say that you should.
Absolutely. And then we also have the Mutter Museum in Philadelphia, the morbid kind of
yes.
anatomy museum. And I'm sure they have, bodies of certain people or whatever that have been preserved. So I feel like it is definitely
Lenin looks alive though. Lenin
I'm going to look him up right now.
He looks like he's barely taking a nap after 98 years.
Yeah. He's all like this.
He's I was just oh, good. So now I know that he kind of looks like a family member with his red beard.
Yes, yeah.
And Lenin died 6 years before La Pascualita. So I don't think anybody can say with any absolute ness that she's not a corpse.
I agree.
However, there are some important differences. I think Lenin, as the leader of a revolution and the Soviet Union, he had the time, money, and resources, or the government did, to make sure that the 98-year-old corpse looks real fresh. La Pascualita, on the other hand, was the daughter of a bridal shop owner. And while that's nothing to put your nose down at, it's just that I don't think Pascuala had the same resources to dedicate to preserving her daughter's corpse as maybe she may have wanted to. And also, more importantly, to me, is that La Pascualita, she's been in Chihuahua, Mexico since 1930 in a storefront window, before air conditioning, before any of that. And she's been a tourist attraction. So I don't know. It makes me maybe doubt it. But over the decades, funeral directors, morticians, amateurs, they've all kind of chimed in on La Pascualita with their own theories. Some believe that even though Chihuahua can be very warm, it's about the same as southern New Mexico and southeastern Texas, considering it's only 150 miles away from those borders. It's a very dry climate, which would actually serve to help preserve a body, allegedly. Most people who've researched our corpse bride are super lame and believe that she's not a corpse because somebody has to be the fun police.
Ugh.
But some people out there have faith in the yet unproven and say unequivocally that La Pascualita is an impeccably embalmed corpse.
Yes. And you know what I say to them?
Need I mention the hands again, people? The hands.
Yeah. You know what I say to them? Fuck the fun police.
Yeah. Fuck the fun police.
Yeah.
There's also an alternative theory about La Pascualita that I saw in 2 sources. And that theory is that there was a visiting French magician who fell in love with our macabre princess and visited her storefront every night. This magician allegedly would bring La Pascualita back to life to dance with her and take her around town. And he would have her back in her window, posed and ready to haunt before the sun came back up.
Now, that guy's full of shit. All right?
Wow.
That I know.
Wow.
I'm putting my foot down.
Somebody's quick to judgment.
Yes.
Who's to say that's not true? The French are known
lovers.
Witches?
Not fighters. They're known witches.
Known witches.
Everyone knows.
everyone knows the French are witches. As much as I would truly love for La Pascualita to be a corpse. And maybe her hands are. I stand by
maybe that could be that. Like, that's the thing.
I don't know that I can believe it, simply because the maintenance and upkeep that would be required to keep a 92-year-old corpse looking
she looks great
like
for her
that.
age. Yeah,
she looks incredible for her age.
Yes,
stunting indeed.
I mean, maybe at some point they put her in like a mold, and this is now like a copy of the body or something.
I mean, yeah, maybe they could have done maybe like a revamp of those hands, though.
Yeah,
if that's the case, maybe make them look like skin.
Yeah,
not like gray dead hands.
Think outside the mannequin box, y'all.
Yeah. So since her debut, allegedly, okay, I only saw this in one source, brides from all over the country intentionally choose the same dress that La Pascualita happens to be wearing that week for their own ceremonies when they come into the bridal shop. Local lore suggests that the garment grants good luck for a successful marriage. And that is the story of La Pascualita.
Oh, I love that story. La Pascualita.
Yeah.
I
thought so.
Never.
Never.
No. Didn't even think something like that existed.
No. And as soon as I was told what it was, I was upset, but also intrigued. And you know how I hate a little bit of information. So I had to look into it. You got to
dive on in.
So
oh, yeah.
I had to dive in. It's not my fault.
Now, here's the thing. Is she gay? She
was getting married. But that doesn't mean she's not gay.
That doesn't mean
if we want, gay. I think La Pascualita is who we want, but more importantly, who we need her to be.
I think her inner monologue song is Melissa Etheridge's "Come to My Window."
Oh my God. Yes.
Yes, bitch.
Especially when you talk about the French magician version of the story. Come to my window. There she is.
Come on inside. Wait by the light of the moon.
Our only gay influence of the mid-90s.
Always. Just love.
That's going to be stuck in my head for the next 2 years, and I'm not mad about it.
I am so glad, because that just came to my head when we were talking about her being a lesbian, and I was like, this is great.
Windows, lesbians. I know what this needs.
Moonlight. I love it. Yeah. Thank you for telling us this story.
Of course. Thank you again to Amanda for letting me know. I will be forever haunted and disgusted and delighted. Well, I really enjoyed your story.
Thank you, and I really enjoyed your story.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Yeah, look at us.
Episode 8.
Let's do our little moment at the end of every episode that we do where we pat ourselves on the back.
Yes, because we fucking
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah. Hey, look at us.
Hey, look at you, Kevin. Congratulations to you.
And
look
to
at you doing recording and editing and posting and doing all the stuff.
It's a labor of love. Makes me feel cool that we have a fun little project we're working on.
I love our fun little project, 100%.
I sure do too. Oh, and just so you know too, I'm putting a shout out of Creepy InQueeries into Ben and I's our end of year letter that we are currently writing that we're sending out to people. So,
cute.
Yeah.
Cute.
It's definitely a thing. And now I have to commit to this because I've just
now it's recorded.
Send out to everyone.
Now it's recorded. Now it's a fact. Now you have to make it.
Well, I am so glad that we've done this. I'm so glad that we have another great episode in the bank.
Yeah. It's so funny. Every single week I get so nervous, like right before we start, that like my story's going to be dumb or that you're not going to like it or something. Uh-huh. And then we record it and I'm just like, oh no, wait, I'm having fun.
Yes.
Doing this. This is just me telling you a stupid little story that I found, and I'm very much enjoying it.
Yeah. This episode had everything. It had lesbians shooting rats. It had
yes.
a lesbian mannequin, allegedly. It had a Melissa Etheridge reference. It
had Lenin.
It had Lenin. We ran the gamut today. We really
did. We had lesbians. We had fights. We had lovers. We had fighters. We had heterosexuals. We had homosexuals.
I love it. And I think, let me just point out, is this our first story that either one of us has done that's outside of the U.S.? I think so.
I think it definitely is. God, we're probably both wrong. I think
I'm going to look.
No, I know my stories. Yeah, no, this is definitely my first international one.
No, last week's was Spring Heel Jack.
Kill me. Just kill me. I said before all of that, I said that I'm probably wrong. God damn it.
Literally the week before. That's my fault. I baited you with that idea, and you just went with it.
You baited me, and I didn't think so, but then you made me feel comfortable, so I was like,
right?
I'm gonna commit to it.
Yeah.
Fine. So my second and continuous international story.
Yeah.
Wait, well, Spring Heel Jack wouldn't have been last week. It would have been 2 weeks ago.
You're right.
Yeah.
It was last week. So here I am. I'm wrong.
2 weeks ago.
So thank you guys for listening to our beautiful episode 8.
Yes.
We hope you enjoyed it. Miss, where can they find us?
They can find us on Instagram at Creepy Inquiries Pod. You can send any questions or comments to our email at creepyinquiriespod@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. And then our website, creepyinquiriespod.com. Anywhere else? I think that's it.
No, I think that's
but you could always rate or review it if you feel so inclined. That really helps us, and we really enjoy that. But otherwise, thank you simply for listening.
Yes, and until next week's episode.
Until next week, darlings.
We say goodbye.